Now let's talk about a place that I like a lot. Some people are not going to like it, but I like it a lot. And I think if you don't like it, I think it's because the number one reason you may not like it because it's a crowded city. We're going to talk about London. Yep, it's London, England, the UK. Used to live in the UK, been there many, many times. Other than living there, I went there on vacation a few times, and I really enjoyed that city. I enjoyed a lot. And the primary reason I enjoy it because there's a lot of things to do. You got a lot of things to see. It's always a lot of things to do there. That's just the way it is in London. Now, when I lived there, I did not live in London. I lived in the northern part of of England, just south of Scotland. But I've always found myself with a lot more things to do than I had time to do them in. Now, so I'm gonna tell you, you can go to every museum, you can go to all kind of stuff, and you can stay busy all day, every day. From the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, you can stay busy. And the weather has gotten warmer over the years. You know, when I was there, if it hit 70, 75, you were kind of lucky. But like I said, I was in the northern part, and London was always around 80 degrees, and I was always around 75 degrees. So, you know, it's not a big deal. But London is a very crowded city, and it's not friendly for families. It's a lot of walking. I mean, a lot of walking. You can get a bus or a taxi or whatever, but I would advise you to walk. That's kind of a walking city. If you don't mind walking a few miles a day, you know, which I don't mind at all, you know, London is the city for you. Because on every single corner, there's something to see. Some people, if you want to shop, they got Harrods and some of these other high-end stores, or actually a lot of high-end stores that you don't see nowhere else in the world. I mean, there's not like they have chains there, but they also have unique stores that's only catering to people who visit London. There's a lot of junk stores. I mean, you know, candy stores, people selling, visit the UK, visit Great Britain and all that. You got a lot of that stuff on the high street and in the Regents. But you also got a lot of money. If you go to Chelsea part of London, there's a lot of money there because you look at what those houses cost, it's ridiculous. And you can tell by the cars in the parked on the street that those cars are not cheap. You see a lot of Ferraris, Bentleys, Rolls, a lot of high-end cars. Now, I'm going to tell you some down things. Like I said earlier, it's not a kid-friendly place. You're going to be pushing a stroller forever, or you're going to walk the hell out of your kids. Either one would have them tired when the day ends. But also, you're going to be tired as hell too. That's not fun for me if you got a family. And I always enjoy when, you know, your head's on a swivel. You always see in something, you know, the next thing. And London is a city that you need about a week and a half. Now, saying that, I paid $1,500 round trip to go there. And then I rented an Airbnb the last time I was there, and I paid about $220 a night, US dollars, which is really a good deal because the hotels aren't worth it. Those hotels look like they are fancy on the outside. On the inside, those hotels are basic hotels. I'm talking about what we would call the Hilton Gardens, Best Western, nothing fancy about them at all. And everything there is expensive. And now when I say that, it's not expensive compared to, you know, prices on the East Coast. It's about the same price, actually. It's about the same price. But gas, oh yeah. You know, gas in Europe in general is expensive as hell. Because we're used to cheap gas. Yeah, we are. We probably got some of the cheapest gas in the world. But yet we don't realize it because we freak out when it goes up 2 cents. You know, you pay $3.20 a gallon, go over there and you pay $5 a gallon. You'll learn to walk a lot. Now, one of the things about London, and I'm going to tell you, this is the UK in general. And remember, I lived there for 5 years. Their food is terrible. I'm talking about the food is terrible. I don't know how Gordon Ramsay got famous because the food is terrible. And he's Scottish. And the food in Scotland is even worse than the food in the UK. A lot of fried things, a lot of chain restaurants. I mean, a lot. The food, if you want to be full in the UK, go there full. Don't go there thinking you're going to get some great food. Now, the Brits don't know, well, actually they do know what good food is because they buy a lot of what's the food? The food that the immigrants or people who move there, they eat that national food. I mean, like, you got Indians, a bunch of them, Pakistanis, a bunch of them. You got some Greeks, but they eat that food more than they eat British food, because British food really is fish and chips. There's not anything else that's good over there. And then when you eat fish and chips and you see how it looks the next day with all the grease in the newspaper, it changes your mind. Don't get me wrong, you can survive. Because you got KFC, McDonald's, Burger King. You got all the chains, and the Brits keep those things packed. I'm talking about there's always a line. So you always got that. So that's not a big deal there. So you can survive. But if you want to get some good British food, you ain't going to find it. You're just not going to find it. The pubs, when I was there, was the place to go to get a good meal, like Yorkshire pudding, which is great. Yorkshire pudding is good food. Pub food was the best food they had in the UK. And it probably still is, because no one's going to eat haggis and all that kind of crap. So when it comes to the food, the UK food in general just sucks. It is what it is. And they have never had good food. They almost eat like they're still in World War II. When things was rationed and you didn't have a lot of choice. They even think Spam is good. We all know Spam is a poor man's food. Or I don't say poor man today, because you do go to the Polynesian islands and you see a lot of Spam in Hawaii. Yeah. But if you want a city that's going to have you busy every day, all day, that's London. Oh, yeah. London, now, if you drive through there like I did, you're going to get a lot of tickets. When you see a speed limit that says 25, 30 kilometers, that's what it means. It don't mean 31 if it says 30. Nope. You get a ticket at 31. I had so many tickets. Hell, I don't even know what I did with them. I don't even know who to go pay them for. But you're going to end up with a lot of tickets. That's just the way it works over there. Now, saying that, if you so choose to go there, get an Airbnb and don't spend a lot of money on your hotels. But London is anytime you go to a country and you got a conversion rate, sometimes things are cheaper, sometimes things cost more. It all depends on where you go. And so when I lived there, it was expensive as hell, because it cost me $2 to buy 1 pound. Now it costs me about $1.20 to buy 1 pound. And the prices has not really moved a lot as far as the tourist stuff goes. Where the prices have moved is like in the hotel fees, and then even when you get a hotel, parking is difficult at a hotel you're paying to stay at, because they don't intend for you to drive. They got all kinds of things to keep you from driving, but they're convenient. They got a hell of a good subway system. They got taxis everywhere, and they got Uber everywhere. So that's not bad. I mean, Europe is designed, Europe is built up, not out like in America. So it's designed so things are convenient if you walk. And not only that, it will get you in shape. Now, if you go look at the Brits nowadays, they're fat as hell. Yeah, they're fat as hell. They're eating all that American food, all that processed stuff. They're fat. Yep. They're just built like Americans now. Before, and the people in the UK are the fattest in Europe. And it shows. When you go from there to another country, you're going to see where they're fat. That is what it is. They're just a bunch of big people. They don't take care of themselves. They kind of like us, waiting to die. Yep, just like us. Now, saying that, now that we got that out of the way, it's hard to believe how big they are, considering how much you got to walk to get around, or you should be walking to get around. And they got some of the prettiest parks in the world. They spend a lot of time, but they got a homeless problem too. Depends on where you go, you're going to run into them. It is what it is. They got homeless everywhere. But now, I didn't see the homeless in the really upscale parts. But then again, I've never have seen homeless in any city in the upscale part. I generally see them in the tourist areas or near hotels, so that seems to be the trend around the world, I guess, and London is no different. Now, the one thing about London is that you're going to get rain every day. That's the UK in general. You don't know when. The weathermen, they be guessing. They be just guessing. It's going to be blustery. What the hell does that mean? We know it's going to be windy. You're on an island. Okay, we got that part. What does the blustery means? You saying it may be windy and may rain, or it may rain and be windy? They don't know. If you look at the weather there, they give the weather about 30 seconds on TV because they know that guy's going to be guessing for 30 seconds. They don't want him guessing for a whole minute and a half. They say, you know what, come here, tell your lie and go. That's how they do it. So that's a good thing. Now, as far as pubs and stuff, I really enjoy the pubs. Not anymore. I used to enjoy them because the pubs now are owned by these large breweries who sell only their beer. So you're not going to go there like the old days and have, a pub independently owned and have like 20 beers. That's not going to happen at all. That pub is only going to have what the brewery sells. They're not going to sell the competitors or the competition's beer or food or whatever. The one thing that most people who go overseas got to get used to, that some American things, the price may seem high, but you got to remember, back home when you buy it, it's domestic. When you go over there, that's an international product, whatever it may be, a beer, food, a candy bar. That a lot of this stuff is not made over there. It's imported, so you're paying imported prices. A lot of Americans go over there and they want to know why a Budweiser beer costs 3 times what it costs here. Well, because it's imported. Now let's talk about something that London got a lot of homeless, and I was talking about it earlier. But London also, when the Olympics came, they really, really got regentrified. They really did. There's some areas like Brixton and other areas that you think are not a good area or whatever. You go back, that whole area has been cleaned out. They have forced the people who lived there for generations out. And now those areas are upscale. You got nice everything. The government's put a lot of money into that kind of stuff. I mean, now, one thing I can tell you, this is a fact. The Brits love their local sports teams. Bad or good, they are the most loyal people I've ever met in my life when it comes to their sports teams. I know there are people who say, oh, we love the Cowboys. We love this. We love that. No. Go overseas to the UK, whether it's Manchester, Liverpool, Newcastle, London got about 5 teams: Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, West Ham, but even Birmingham got Aston Villa. They love their teams and they are radical about their teams. They cause riots when they lose. They cause riots when they win. They are just radical about their teams. And nothing wrong with that at all until it leads to violence. Because the violence generally hurt those who are innocent. But they are very, very radical. And so, I do like that about them. And don't walk down the street with the wrong colors on for the wrong team. And that's, you're in the wrong neighborhood. No. But the UK is a very divisive country. You got have and have-nots. A lot of them. London got about 10 million people. Maybe 7 million in the city and about 3 million in the suburbs. But they are definitely a city of have and have-nots. But the government is a big part of their life. Unlike us, where we try and get rid of the government. That's why we left the UK years ago, about 250 years ago. But the government's a very big part of their life. Whether it's health, medical, whatever, the government subsidizes a lot of things. And the one thing they don't subsidize very well is gas prices, because the UK export gas. They export it, oil. If you exporting, that means that you are making more than what you can use. And so what you're using should be fairly cheap. but it's not the way it goes because they are a heavily taxed society. They get taxed on everything. But the one thing I like about their tax system is added into the price. When you see the price, the taxes are already in there. Unlike America, where we throw taxes on top of what you see. So what you see in America, you got to do a little math. Is it 6%, 7%, 10%? Yeah, you got to do a little math. Not there. You walk up to the register. If you see a price on the item and it says 14 pounds, that's what it's going to cost you at the register. That's the way it should be. That way you got no issue thinking it's different than what it really is. But out of all the cities in Europe, and London is one of the most friendliest cities. The people are not bad. London got its share of crime, but not on the scale of the United States. And the biggest difference is too that, see, in the States, our crimes are committed with guns. That's not the case over there at all because you got to go through hell to get a gun. The whole country ain't got guns. It's very rarely that someone owns a gun outside of the law enforcement, which is the way it should be. You can't give everybody a gun and want to know why little Johnny got shot in the damn head. Well, because you gave little crazy Aaron a gun, and we know little Aaron got problems already. So London is a city that matter of fact, I didn't have the homelessness people bothering me. You see them, and most time they know at the end of the month they're gonna get a check from the government, or the beginning of the month they're gonna get a check from the government. They're just biding their time until the check comes. But you don't see them bothering you, walking up to you like, say, in San Fran or Seattle or Portland. You don't see none of that kind of stuff. The people are easygoing and they're pretty mild mannered, and they're pretty friendly toward most foreigners. But now, if you like shopping, London is a shopping city. It is a shopping city. No matter where you go, man, you can find something to shop. You can shop. That's just London itself. Shopping is almost everywhere. But the thing I like about London the most is that every little neighborhood is very distinct from the one next to it. I love that. Everybody is distinct. Every neighborhood has its own little culture. Every single neighborhood. And that's the cool thing about it. You find that in some places in New York, some of our bigger cities, it's the exact same way. Some of our bigger cities. But London, they're very, very distinct. Every little neighboring, you go from Chelsea, you go from, say, the Tottenham area to the Chelsea area. It's totally different. And I like that because the shopping is different. Everything is different. But now they all do meet, downtown near, Hyde Park and Regent's Park. They all meet at one place. And that's kind of cool because you see a little mixture there. But don't eat street food. Don't eat restaurants. Just buy your food and cook yourself. The Brits can't cook. That's why they have a lot of Indian food, a lot of food from the Caribbean food. Some places you go, you're gonna see all these restaurants from different parts of the world that they specialize in those foods, and those places are always crowded. Because they're crowded not just with the people who came from the Caribbean or came from India or came from China or Hong Kong or wherever. They're also crowded with Brits because the Brits know that's the best meal they're going to have. They know the best. If I want a good meal, I got to get non-British food. They know that. But a lot of the places, though, I don't try a bunch of them because they look unsanitary. They look totally unsanitary. So I'm always thinking no, you look unsanitary. Especially when you got a bunch of young kids selling, Afghan food or Pakistani food, and you don't see water. You don't see them washing their hands. I'm not saying that they're all like that. Just the ones I saw, and I saw a bunch over 5 years. Now, there are one thing the Brits eat a lot that we do not in America. They eat a lot of goat. They eat a lot of sheep. They love lamb. And so do I. So to me, it's not a big deal. But Americans do not eat lamb a lot. First of all, it's expensive. And a lot of people don't breed it. But because The UK got people from around the world. They eat a lot of it, a lot. And you know what? I think they cook it very, very well. But they don't cook beef and pork and all that very, very well because they feed those animals. Animals are, you taste what they are. And I know for a fact that they use a lot of fish to feed their animals. Now I've seen them grazing and stuff, but they do feed fish to a lot of their animals, like pigs and stuff. But in a nutshell, if you're gonna go to a city and you're first starting off traveling, the old school traveler would tell you, if you're an American and you're not sure if you want to be a traveler or travel a lot, start with London and just be prepared to have some good shoes because you're gonna walk. You have some good shoes, you're gonna walk, and get an Airbnb because the hotels ain't worth it. I mean, they're not. Now, one thing I do a lot in the UK, I like a bed and breakfast. It used to be a bunch of those all over London. I see more hotels now or Airbnbs. I don't see the bed and breakfast, something the Brits really invented, where you get up the next morning, you got a breakfast waiting on you and stuff before you make your daily excursions. But I don't see as many as I used to. I mean, I used to see so many, it was ridiculous. But now I see a few every now and then. But my whole point is, if you're starting your journey on traveling and you're an American and you don't want to do the Caribbean and other places, go to the UK. It's not a bad place, and I enjoy it. But as far as the food goes, lower your expectation because there's no really British food outside of fish and chips. There's no British food that's good, put it that way. And they fry a lot of food. So don't go there thinking I'm a vegan or I'm gluten-free. Your ass just gonna die. Your ass is just gonna die. The Brits aren't like that at all. They're fat. Look at them. When you get there, you can say, ooh. You're gonna say, damn, he's never missed a meal or she's never missed a meal. They're fat. But like I said, it's a city of have and have-nots. Now, the have-nots don't bother you because they know they're gonna get a check. But the haves definitely closes the door behind them. So this is the old school traveler telling you that London's one of my favorite cities because I'm an active person. And if you're in a wheelchair, it may not be the place you want to go. If you got any kind of deformities, don't go there. And if you can't stand the heat, because see, London 80 degrees is not like US 80 degrees. London 80 degrees is like 95 degrees. But this is the old school traveler telling you, go to the UK and try out and see if you want to be a traveler or if you have desires to go other places. This is the old school traveler out.